Are there exceptions? I think there are. Even though there's no research study that I'm aware of that has reported persons on a diet, they lose weight. And research is always reported on group averages. So if there's 50 people in the weight loss group, they're going to give you the average. But there are sometimes likely in these research studies, maybe a subject or two that was dieting and they didn't lose weight. Or maybe you have clients that you're working with, or you've heard of people who really believe they're dieting, and maybe they are, and they are just not losing body weight. Now, the scope of my presentation tonight is not to address that, but I would be happy to address that in a future time. And if you guys want to, suggest future topics for me. But if we do have a client that's not losing body weight and body fat, and they believe they're dieting, there's usually one of three things that's going on. One is they are not being truthful. They are not adhering to a caloric deficit. Or if they're tracking, they're not tracking adequately. That's one likely outcome, and the research would suggest that's the most likely reason. Another possibility is metabolic adaptation. They've been dieting for a while, maybe not using good dieting practices where they're dieting pretty aggressively for a long period of time, and their body is experiencing metabolic adaptation where their metabolisms are slowing down, such that what used to be a caloric deficit is no longer a caloric deficit. And then a third possible reason is a medical condition. Let's get blood work. Is your thyroid, is that functioning properly? Is there some metabolic disease that's occurring that we don't know about? So I'm not going to be the person who says 100% of the time, if you're in a caloric deficit, you have to lose weight. All the research points to that, but I acknowledge there are outliers, there are exceptions, and we need to be aware of the exceptions and be willing and able to accommodate and help our clients that are in that situation. But I also want to say these are the exceptions. All right, with that, so I started by saying we're going to focus on the energy balance model. I gave you some compelling evidence as to why the energy balance model works. Now I just want to explain a little bit of the philosophy, and then I want to get into the components of the energy balance model just for educational purposes. Again, I want you, and maybe you are, but are you an expert in fat loss? If you are, I think that you should have an understanding of the components of this energy balance model, because as I indicated earlier, probably all of us are using this model, whether or not we appreciate it or not, to guide us in our fat loss programming. So there are three different states that the energy balance model will give us: energy balance, a negative energy balance, and a positive energy balance. So when we have a neutral energy balance, this is where our body weights, or our client's body weight, will stay the same. If you're consuming 2,000 calories and you're burning 2,000 calories, and there's no metabolic disease, there's no medical condition, this person will be weight stable. Calories in, calories out are equal. Weight is the same. We have a negative energy balance. Now, a negative energy balance is where we are consuming fewer calories than what we're burning. I'll be a little dramatic. Every research study ever published with a weight loss intervention has supported this fact, or this facet. When subjects reduce their calories, they lose body weight. When we refer to this as a negative energy balance. And then we have the other one, a positive energy balance would be indicative of somebody gaining weight. You're consuming more calories than what you're burning. Very simple concept. The principles are simple, but yet you know and I know there are people that we either come across or that we hear about that challenge this. And if I do nothing else tonight, I'm going to make you a little bit more knowledgeable on the components of the energy balance equation. But I also want you to feel really good about just not letting that noise or those criticisms to ever put you in doubt. This model explains weight loss.